Okay, so this is going to be the review for the first year's My Pump double breast pump. So it comes in this bag right here. I think it screams, this is a pump, but a lot of other reviews I saw, people thought it was a really cute bag. So let's start with the bag. It's alright. It's fairly big. It's got a bunch of pockets that are just held in by an elastic there. I find that they're not very secure, and a lot of times milk did fall and spill, so I was really hesitant to put anything in here. Okay, yes. So I bought this pump with the intention of only pumping every once in a while, you know, if we needed to go out or something like that. I was in no... I did not intend to pump every day, but we ended up exclusively pumping for the first 2 months. So this pump got a lot of use, and in hindsight I probably would have gone with the Medela pumping style because we used it so much, but when I bought this pump I was only going to use it every once in a while. I figured it was only like a $60 or $70 investment, so you know, if it was terrible I would just go for the Medela. So when I first used it, it was great. I pumped 3 ounces when my milk first came in, and most times after that it was about 5-ounce bottles I was pumping. It still wasn't enough for Jax, so we also supplemented with formula, and after about 6 weeks, my supply started decreasing a lot, and we were almost all formula feeding, it was devastating. My pumping sessions were getting longer and longer, and my body just wasn't reacting well to the pump. I don't know if that's the pump or if that was my body, but eventually I wasn't producing anything. I was pumping for about 1.5 to 2 hours each pumping session, and I do think that that had a lot to do with the pump. I think if I had had a more powerful pump like the Medela, I definitely would have been able to cut that down. I've heard of people pumping, it like takes them 15 to 20 minutes to pump. 15 to 20 minutes? I wish I would pump for 1.5 to 2 hours, and then, you know, by that time I'm going to feed Jax, and then, you know, I've got to pump again, and it was just a revolving circle of pumping and feeding and I mean, I think it's like that anyways when you're exclusively pumping, and I kudos to everyone who can do it, but anyways, I'm getting off topic a little bit, but yeah, it took a really long time to get any milk. And eventually my body didn't react well. So this pump comes with a couple extras, which is really nice. We've got these, they're basically these pads that help, they're gel pads that help soothe discomfort nipples, so you can freeze them, and I believe you can heat them as well. Refrigerator or freezer. So yeah, it's a cooling gel pad. So I thought that this was awesome because it's just a little extra. I never ended up using it, but whatever, at least it was there. It was nice to know that, you know, this is an option. It also came with a trial size pack of these. So these are the breast milk storage bags, and I thought that they were pretty good. I purchased some more just in case. I had every intention of doing an awesome freezer stash. So this is what they look like, and they've got, this is an easy pour handle, which I thought was kind of cute, and then also easy for, you know, to pour it out of here. So I thought that it was nice to have those in there to try out. I think it came with 3 or 4 of them, which, you know, that was awesome, so came with those as well. And then we have this, so it, in theory, enables you to double pump. It comes with, this is the brain of the pump, your tubing, the part that goes from the pump into the wall, and then this enables you to pump with no electrical outlet, and then 2 of these, so you could use this as a double. So this is my first issue with the pump, and this is supposed to allow you to pump with a double. I did hear a lot of bad things about this prior to using it, but basically it was terrible. It didn't give me the suction that I needed, and I was spilling milk, and I used it for about a total of 5 minutes, and that was it. And I have a girlfriend who also has the same pump, and she hated this feature as well. So what it does is it basically just snaps in there, and then enables you to pump with just one hand, 2 pumps. The more and more you clip that in there, it actually chips away the plastic in there, and I don't know if that would have a long-term effect. I didn't use this feature long-term, so I don't know. So I hated that. I thought it was terrible, dumb, useless, you name it. I didn't like it. Whatever. I generally only pumped one side at a time because I liked having that other hand free. I could have bought one of those hands-free pumping bras if I wanted to, and I just didn't. So I did one side at a time, and it was like 45 minutes a side. It took a while. These, so it comes with 2 of these, and each has 4 parts. So this is the top part here. I really liked the material that this was made of. The one that I got in the hospital was a hard plastic, and this wasn't, so I found it, you know, shaped to my breast really nicely, and it was a perfect size for me. This part here, there's also 2 other pieces. So there's just this tiny, tiny little piece, and then we've got this other piece here. Really difficult to clean, I found. There's a lot of little nooks and crannies that, you know, dried up breast milk can get into, and I boiled these and boiled them and scrubbed with our, we have a Munchkin bottle brush, and it was still really difficult. I found I never really felt like I got them all the way clean. There's a lot of little grooves in there, and in here it's just really hard to get a brush all in there. So I found it was really hard to clean these pieces here. And when you boil them, and I don't know if you can tell, but it goes like this yellow brownish color. It said that it would, but I don't know, it always feels like it's dirty. Yeah, so it always feels dirty because of that color. But the bottle portion of it, I love, love, love it. I love the shape. I love, you know, it holds 5 ounces, and I could probably get 6 in there if I really wanted to. So this actually also comes with just a lid, which did leak a little bit, but it was nice to have if I'm just going to put it in the refrigerator. Or another feature it has, which I totally forgot to mention in the beginning, is it comes with this. So this converts these into the Breastflow bottle, which is awesome if you're breastfeeding, and I really do think that this mimics the breast very well. When Jax didn't like breastfeeding, he also didn't like this bottle, which I think then it does its job because, you know, he didn't like all the work he had to do breastfeeding. So it's got these little chambers that the milk gets, you know, so he's got to suck and get them in the chambers and then out, and then I believe it, you know, it also comes with this middle portion here and then gathers in the nipple, and then, you know, he can express it out of there. I found it was really hard because he would give up halfway through. We kept trying with this because my theory was, you know, if you can do this bottle, we'll gradually transition him, we transition him back to the breast. But then all this milk would get caught up, like most of his feeding was all in this area right here. And I couldn't seem to get it out of there. It was really hard to get out without spilling it everywhere, and needless to say, it was a waste of milk for us. But I mean, if your baby can handle it and isn't, you know, a little bit lazy like ours, this would be awesome. So these are the Breastflow bottles. Alright, so this, I loved the fact that this was just super tiny, compact. It's like the size of a cell phone a few years ago. It is really light, so I liked that about it. We've got the tubing that just plugs into the side, so it's really easy to put together. I mean, we took it out of the box, 5 minutes, we were up and running. Well, up and running, you know, we washed it and everything like that, but we put it together and figured it out in about 5 minutes. So the tubing here, I heard a lot of bad reviews about condensation in the tubes, and we did get that. About the second use I started noticing, you know, condensation that started in this end and then, you know, gradually went all the way down, and I can even still see, you know, dried water stain almost kind of thing. So we never, like, our motor didn't fry or anything like that, but I did hear that that was a review. A lot of people's had to get the motor replaced. But first years is great about replacing that, so it's a total hassle, and I don't know what I would have done if my pump stopped working, because that's how I was feeding my baby, primarily. So yeah, I did have a lot of condensation, and one time the pump wouldn't work. Like, it turned on, but there was no suction, and it was scary. And there was nothing, like, when it turns on, you can feel this part, you know, it's like your fingers getting sucked into a mini little vacuum. So there was nothing there, and that was worrisome for us, but we figured it out, and eventually it started working. Thank goodness. But it was a panic, and you know, if you buy Medela and you trust the name, and it's, you know, a very reputable brand, you're not going to have those scares. So yeah, this part here plugs into the wall, so it just plugs into the bottom, and then you plug it into the wall, and you're good to go. So that was a nice feature. I used it a lot of times at home. But when we went on a road trip, it was really nice to have this feature to be able to use batteries. It just takes 4 AA batteries, so there they are. And you just plop it in there. Like that. So it is really easy. And then you go. So there's 8 different settings. And I felt after I'd been pumping for a while and got the hang of it that this setting was not powerful enough. I could have used another 4 settings at least. So that's when a Medela would have been probably a lot better, because it would have been, you know, a lot more power. And I do think that if I had had a Medela, my milk production wouldn't have tapered off. I would have been able to continue exclusively pumping with him. I obviously don't regret the fact that we were forced to breastfeed because the pump wasn't that great, because, you know, we're exclusively breastfeeding now and it's amazing. But this pump is really, really quiet. I mean, I don't know if you can hear that, but that is really quiet, I thought. I've never heard any other pumps, but I thought it was really quiet. I would be pumping under a nursing cover in a room full of people, and most times people wouldn't even notice, so that was nice. So all in all, it's really easy to use, easy to put together, easy to take apart, and on a lot of pieces, so, you know, it's pretty compact, which I really liked. I could just throw this in the diaper bag if I had needed, which, you know, I think that's a really nice feature. It's definitely something that it has going for it. I don't think it has the power that is needed necessarily if you're going to be an everyday pumper, but, you know, every once in a while, if I, you know, can have the patience to sit there for a couple hours and pump, so be it. But, you know, I've heard people that it only takes 15 to 20 minutes to pump. Like, yeah, that would have really been worth spending the extra money to get a Medela to only have to spend 15 to 20 minutes. I feel like I kind of got robbed of those first few months. I was just attached to a pump. So, in hindsight, probably should have gotten the Medela, or, you know, even the Amida, or anything like that. I used the Amida, or Amida, I don't know, that one, in the hospital, and it was really powerful. And I don't know if that's just because, you know, it was my first experience, but really powerful and really fast. So yeah, so that's my review on the My Pump. You know, you really get what you pay for. It's $60 or $70, and I really wouldn't recommend it. I really wouldn't. I think if you can and you have the resources to splurge on the Medela, you won't regret it. I feel like I don't have a freezer stash right now because I hate pumping so much, because it takes so long and it's just so emotionally draining. And, you know, if I maybe had a Medela and, you know, was producing, or if I had a Medela and, you know, I was expressing 5 ounces in 15 minutes, man, I would have a great freezer stash. I would have so much incentive to do that. But, you know, and I don't have, like, supply issues. I don't think. We're exclusively nursing, and I can nurse him and then come and pump. And there's still some there. So I don't think my supply is necessarily an issue. I think that it's just the pump isn't really all that powerful, so it just takes a while. One tip that I do have is I would sit at each setting for a while, like maybe a couple minutes at each setting, and then gradually work myself up to the most powerful setting. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I found when I just kind of skipped past them and stayed a couple seconds, you know, till what was comfortable, and then, you know, went to the 8th setting as fast as possible, my letdown happened a lot faster. So probably sounds like common sense to some people, but to me, you know, there's no letdown button on this. There's just 8 settings, and you just give her. So, a whole letdown system like the Medela has would have been amazing for me, and I really would have appreciated that. So yeah, that being said, that's my review for the first year's My Pump. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Bye guys.